So this is a re-recording because we thought we were recording Gaetz and Soros, and also this is BS with Joe.
It is. All right, so we were talking about what's going on with Matt Gaetz.
Right.
So the Senate Ethics Committee, when they did their investigation, they did find some ethics issues.
Yes.
So he had multiple instances where he had women over the age of 18 that he brought with him to various locations, whether it be Jamaica or New York City or wherever. They traveled with him.
Yeah, because Matt Gaetz is wealthy.
Right. And he did have sex with them at those locations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he never paid them directly, but one of the women has testified before Congress that she assumed that the sex was to pay for the trip.
Well, assuming is not what is actual.
Right.
Right.
So this is causing Gaetz a problem still, because the Florida State Bar Association is now using the Senate Ethics Committee's report to try and disbar him. Now, I don't know if the Florida Bar Association is Republican or Democrat. I have no idea. I don't know which way that
we
they
don't
lean.
know. But also, let me just say this real quick. You know, it's like rough sex can be considered rape.
Yeah.
In the same token as we were talking about that.
There was
Gaetz.
there was an argument years ago about whether you could rape your spouse or not.
Right.
You can.
Well, you can, but some women have fantasies about rough sex as if they are being raped.
Right.
Fetishes are weird, but
They are.
I know that is a thing.
Right.
But with Gaetz, he probably just wanted companionship.
Right.
Was willing to pay for their trip.
Right.
But
he never. These people.
he never solicited them.
They were not sex workers. They were just women.
They were just women. Who doesn't want to be a playboy? Be Hugh Hefner once in a while.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I'm a guy.
Yeah.
Guys are going to do guy things.
Did he violate ethics? You could argue yes.
Well, more morality than ethics, because that's not very moral. But
there's no evidence other than this woman saying that she was of the opinion that she was paying for the trip with sex.
Opinion's not fact.
Right. And he never told her, he never said to anyone that, you owe me sex because I paid for this trip.
If she said no, I'm sure he would let her.
He would have let her go.
Yeah. That's it.
So, I don't know. I think that they're...
Well, and also, let's think of this too. I know there's a lot of women that are like, this is sexy, going on this trip. This is sexy. And when a woman's turned on like that, they may come on to the guy that's paying for everything.
They might.
And who's to say he wasn't like, okay, she wants it, I'm going to give it.
It's possible.
And then later on, she doesn't want to look as if she's cheap. And so she's saying this, which makes her look even cheaper.
Yeah, it does. It does. But anyway, it's still causing Gaetz problems, the whole Senate Ethics Committee thing. And, look at the members of the House and the Senate.
Yeah, you sent me
How many of those have DUIs? How many of those have filed bankruptcy more than twice?
possible drug charges.
Yes.
And
actual prostitution charges.
Yes. What about their ethics?
Yeah. There's like you mentioned, there's a video that I sent you that there's a guy at a podium saying, "Is this the NFL or the NBA?" And he lists off all this list of crimes by this organization, and it turns out it's the members of Congress.
Try to link that in the description below.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that'll give you an idea of what the left is doing. They're turning molehills into mountains, and then when they have a mountain issue, they try to it's just a thing. Everybody's doing it. Why not?
That's just a molehill. That's not a mountain.
Yeah, because we were talking about some of the judges that with Judicial Gate on one of our episodes.
Right.
It's.
Speaking of which, I think that the Criminal Justice Initiative is the majority funder is George Soros.
Well, yeah, he's also funded a lot of the district's attorneys, and they're prosecuting cases they want and cases they don't want.
Right.
It goes back to rulings for thee, but not for me.
Right. So now you've got, with the NGOs that Soros is spending, dumping all this money into, and allegedly they were getting money back from USAID. He's not facing any charges yet, but I think it's a matter of time.
Oh, it is.
Before Bondi I'm sure she's
Bondi
got a folder.
Yeah.
She's probably got a folder already, just like she had for these judges that she went after. Before she went after them, she had a folder, and it was already there. Between her and Patel, they had more than enough evidence.
Well, I'm surprised there's not more of these ethics committees against some of these other congressmen.
Yeah, let's talk about Nancy Pelosi and her stock market
Insider
issues.
trading.
Yeah, big time. The left is going. The left wanted to go after Trump for manipulating the stock market.
She manipulates it in front of our face.
Right.
And the ethics committee hasn't done anything about it.
Right. Not only the ethics committee, but the SEC should go after her for insider trading.
Yeah, it's obvious.
You can't have a 54% return on investment over a single year without cheating.
Well, it's so easy for congressmen to cheat. They shouldn't be allowed to even purchase stocks and sell stocks like that.
Especially when it's something that you've just ruled on or is coming up in the next couple of weeks and you know about it.
Right. Like, what was it? The NVIDIA chips.
Yeah.
She vested heavily into that.
Mm-hmm.
Just before she went to Taiwan for the chips manufacturing to try to possibly bring it back here to the States or help fund some of their chip manufacturing there in Taiwan.
Right. Now, as far as George Soros being indicted, he is being indicted in India.
Yes. You did talk about that when we missed our recording.
The country of India is going after George Soros for racketeering and fraud.
Yes. And with that, with racketeering and fraud, they could seize a lot of files and information
and assets,
and that could be used internationally for other countries that he's in.
It could be. Yeah, he's starting to face a little bit of the music that he's.
Well, didn't he also step down from certain organizations? That's my wife coming in, by the way. That's why you're hearing my dog's feet pitter-patter.
It's all good.
And that's her.
So, yeah, he has been stepping down, and he I think he's trying to reduce his exposure a little bit, because he's always tried to be somebody that was kind of just in the background and not in the forefront, and over the last 6 months or so, he's been thrust into the limelight.
Yes.
Against his wishes, I believe.
Yeah. Well, when you do something that people aren't happy with, you're going to be thrust in the limelight.
Ask Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. So any more on that topic? I know we want to talk a little bit about the ATF because there's a new director.
Right.
But we don't have enough information for a whole episode.
The only thing that I know about that situation is that the ATF director sent out an email to all of the ATF. And in a nutshell, the biggest part of that entire memo was like 3 paragraphs. It wasn't really long. But his number one point was the Second Amendment is not a secondary right. It's a foundational part of the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
And will be upheld as such.
Yes.
It is the ATF director saying that. So we're seeing a shift in the mentality of the ATF.
Well, and that's where I heard the pistol brace lawsuit. I don't remember what state it was in. I think it was California, because you can't have a short barrel rifle or something or other with.
You were telling me about somebody that had a pistol and a rifle, and
Yeah, because the way the state was charging them, it was both a pistol and a rifle, because they were giving them SBR charges and pistol charges. Because I don't know exactly how the pistol charges was coming about, but the ATF was going after him for them, and so this may be squashed. I think it was already squashed by someone else, maybe Pam Bondi. I'm not sure.
I thought the whole pistol brace thing had already been ruled on.
It was ruled on way before, but certain district attorneys and other factions, they see as an opportunity to go after somebody when they want to go after somebody.
Okay.
And that's also another thing is like, so
Weaponizing the judicial system?
right. So this is where one case I'm kind of following. I'm trying to follow more on it because I have a pistol braced firearm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pistol, but when the ATF was changing the ruling to a short barrel rifle,
right,
you could apply it with the ATF and get it was like a tax stamp without the tax stamp,
right,
stating you have a short barrel rifle with a pistol brace.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that paperwork, so technically they could come after me for it.
Yeah.
Even though I got paperwork for it saying I'm allowed to have it, but the courts sustained that, so who knows what it is. It's all in limbo. But there again, the ATF can't
All I can tell you is if the ATF knocked on my door, they're not getting in.
Yeah. Yeah, the only way they'll get in my door is if they have a warrant. And at that point, I'm not saying anything. I'm letting them in, but I'm not saying anything.
Nope.
I might ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at the warrant. I want to see what the warrant says and what it pertains to, what they can look at and investigate.
Right.
And that's the thing is the ATF is also used. Look at the one individual that was shot for a 6 o'clock raid with basically a SWAT team.
Yeah, that guy out east that was the airline guy. The
Airline director.
Airport director.
Yeah. In my eyes, that's almost murder. Because there was no need to go in with a no-knock warrant at 6 o'clock in the morning with a SWAT agent. He's not a criminal.
Well, the thing that really bothered me about that one is they gathered the day before to do that. And when they found out he wasn't in town, they decided to reschedule it for the next day. But there's nothing on the warrant that said he had to be there.
No. He didn't have to be there. You're right. What it was they wanted to do something and basically SWAT him.
Yeah.
Because swatting, what a SWAT is, it's something that was used originally in
Gaming.
online gaming.
Yeah.
The gamer would find out where their opponent that they didn't like that was killing them on the game,
Called
not
doxing.
legit. Yeah, they would go and they'd find their IP address. Find that helps them find their actual address, and then they'd call the police, like an anonymous 911 call, saying, "Hey, there's this person that it sounds like they're killing them at this person's house."
Right.
And then he would watch on his game and listen for him getting swatted.
Right.
People have been killed for that.
People have. Yep.
But that's how it started. Now the left is using it as a weapon. Tim Pool has been swatted multiple times.
Yeah.
Owen Schreier, another independent news media source through YouTube, was swatted that way as well. And a lot of people have been swatted. I'm in fear of being swatted.
Speaking of news sources, did you happen to catch John Kennedy's speech to Congress about public broadcasting?
No, I did not.
So basically, his argument is I forget what there's a a group that is funded by the government that runs all of the public broadcasting. There's PBS and there's NPR, but there's this like father company above it that runs. I can't remember what it's called right off the top of my head. But anyway, the U.S. government gives like $500 million a year to them, and John Kennedy was basically saying, okay, in the 1800s and even into the early 20th century, when there weren't that many news sources, and even in the 1970s when there were only like 3 or 4 TV channels, yes, the government should have been involved and been investing in
PBS, NPR.
PBS, NPR, and getting information out there, and media. But the current, I mean, he pulled up, he had cards with titles of articles that NPR had recently posted, and they were all left-leaning, and they were sensational journalism.
Well, it goes back to the whole, it's like CNN and the Atlantic.
Right.
They got Trump derangement syndrome, and they don't like anything that the conservative party has because they feel like as if we're Nazis or fascists or whatever.
So basically what John Kennedy said to Congress is, why are we still funding this? Why are we still giving them any money?
Right. Well, there's more people that watch YouTube videos than they do public or any broadcasting.
Right.
PBS, nobody watches.
I mean, they used to have some good shows, but the BBC's come out with way better stuff than the PBS is.
Yeah.
I think they're spending way too much money on stuff that they shouldn't even be involved in.
Well, it was great for kids when they had Sesame Street and
Sesame Street's not what it used to be.
right, and Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Those were great.
Mr. Rogers was PBS, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, now what PBS is doing, and this is what I believe they're doing, is they're getting a lot of the funding and they're actually doing a lot of research, and then they're trying to, how can I use this information to sway public opinion?
Right. Well, I'm of the opinion that I think John Kennedy's right,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we need to stop funding public broadcasting.
Absolutely.
We don't need it anymore.
No. Well, and that's the thing is, I understand where public broadcasting, why they're left-leaning, because that's where they originally got a lot of their money from.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that in
But
Congress and
even if they
Senate
were right-leaning, we don't need to be spending $500 million on that anymore.
No, we don't. Nobody watches TV anymore.
Right.
And if they do, they're watching like Netflix or Hulu or...
And NPR, National Public Radio, is supposed to be unbiased.
It's supposed to be unbiased, but it's very politically biased.
Oh yeah, hugely.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
And the food dye thing with Bobby Kennedy, that's good news.
Yeah, that's good news. And the food industry does not like what's
There
happening.
you go. There's a blue pill for you.
Yeah, or a white pill. I've had too many blue pills.
That's the little ones you use in the bedroom.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the left is trying to blue pill me onto their side.
Yes.
But that one, yeah. All
But
right.
yeah, with the U.S. is now going to be more in line with the rest of the world as far as what dyes are allowed in our food.
Yeah, that's good because like these food makers, they've already got supplements to produce these foods because they sell them in the UK all the time.
Right.
It's about time we get healthier foods. Because I was listening to a guy say, you eat pasta in Italy or in Europe and places like that, and you don't get fat. You eat desserts there, you don't get fat. Here, you look at anything and you're gaining a pound.
Right. I think he's going to go after high fructose corn syrup next.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Bobby Kennedy's doing some good things.
Well, also you look at some of your cooking oils. A lot of them are,
Polyunsaturated fat.
yeah. Well, they use like soybean oil or canola oil, but the canola oil, they have to deodorize it because it smells so rancid.
It does.
Because of the process of which they make it.
And it goes bad.
Yeah. And people cook with it and leave it in their shelves for months,
Yeah.
years. Whereas beef tallow, you freeze it, you store it right, it's great forever.
Yep.
Same with other things like coconut oil is good for you, avocado oil is good for you. But a lot of times you go to look at the shelf and you look at you look at some of the oils that you think is good for you. You look at it, it says it has soybean oil.
Right.
So it's like probably 10% of that avocado oil. That 10%
It's just like
olive oil.
If you look at olive oil, if you want to buy a good olive oil, it has to be AOC registered in Italy.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're buying canola oil that has a little bit of olive oil in it.
Right. It's canola oil that's flavored with olive oil.
Right.
Yeah.
A true olive oil is difficult to cook with because it has a very low smoke point.
Yeah, it wants to catch fire and burn.
Right.
That's why a lot of places use beef tallow,
Yep.
which is probably the best thing to use for any kind of frying or cooking.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really ever burn.
Beef fat, chicken fat, pork fat.
Any of
they're all good.
your
Yeah.
saturated fats.
Crisco used to be, every house had Crisco.
Well, now it's all vegetable
Back in the
oil, but it's hydrogenated to the point where it's like a.
I don't think Crisco's even animal fat anymore. I don't
Oh.
think they make it the same way.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper to use other things than beef tallow.
Yeah. Which, what are we doing with the beef tallow now? Because we
Probably selling
still
it.
kill hundreds of thousands of cows.
They probably sell it to other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sell it to chain restaurants or use it for other things. But that's it. That's all we got for this episode.
Okay.
Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Share the show.
Please.
Yeah.